Hi, my name is Judy Peters with Muralist Judy Peters, and what we're doing here is we're doing a faux finish in Easton, PA. And have you ever had a wallpaper that you had existing on your walls that was peeling off the walls? And you looked and you looked and you could not find a duplication of that wallpaper. Well, we can actually simulate that look very similar to the original wallpaper look with paint. And what I have here is the original older wallpaper that the owners could not locate. And I actually created a sample of the hand-painted version. And we started by studying the actual background color of the wallpaper. This is actually a neutral beige tone that I used, kind of in the ivory family, but not so yellow. Not so pink, in between, a neutral bone color called Futon by Sherwin-Williams. And after that, as you can see here, I'm recreating the backdrop, which is a taupey gray, okay? And I'm going to show you how I've done each step. Prior to when I was in the sample making process, I came up with these colors here, which I have in my palette. And here you have the taupey gray. These are all hand mixed. Not so much a blue gray, more in a soft taupey brown gray. Because grays tend to turn blue a lot of times. And then here we have our water to dilute and to soften the look, which I constantly use. You don't want to drench the rag, but you do want to moisten it, and you also want to keep your brushes clean. And then I have the veining, which is a blue gray, rather a blue green, as you can see, more along the lines of a Viridian green. And over here we have I call it a lavender burgundy color. So I'm going to show you the first phase of how we can create this look. So here we have our low adhesive tape. You want to use the low adhesive tape on the ceilings. That's very important because a lot of times if the ceiling was freshly painted, you could peel off the paint real easily. So a low adhesive paint. And I generally get this at Lowe's or Home Depot. And then of course for the tiled area and the door frames, you want to use the regular painter's tape. Okay? So we're going to do the first segment of the first step of this faux. First step, I'm going to wet my rag, my first rag in water, and I have a clean rag here. I don't want to drench the rag, I just want it to be moist. So I'm going to dip it into the gray that I created. I'm going to dab it on a paper towel so it's not like overwhelming in one area. Keep that moistness inside the rag. And just going to start blotting. I can see I want a little bit more of the paint because the water absorbed a lot of it. And then I'm going to take a clean rag and just lightly blend it because this is the texture of the look. Now at the top of the corners, I want to take a brush with not a lot of paint, and I'm going to dilute it a little in water. I'm just going to go across those edges and areas so that it doesn't look like it just stopped. And then we just go to the next section. So I'm going to add a little more texture. Blotting off some of the areas. And then of course I'm going to, after I put this texture on, I'm going to come back in with my veining. Sometimes corners just absorb a lot. Areas that could have just been absorbent, like around doors. So you kind of let that dry and go back later to add more texture. Of course we wouldn't leave some of the marks really dark like that. You want to blot it up with the rag. And I do the corners immediately while the paint is still moist. Because when you tend to go back in an area after it's dry, it will get a lot darker. As we know, paint dries about 3 shades darker once it's applied to the wall. And it has to be someone that loves time-consuming things. This is not for someone that just wants to roll it out and be done with it. That's the joy of art. So with marbling or marbleizing, in this case marbleizing, you don't have to have the patterns, or they should not be the same everywhere. Because this is not wallpaper, this is hand painted. And it actually looks more natural when the pattern isn't exact at all times. You do want to keep it balanced. So on the next wall, I'm going to show you the veining process. And that should be a lot of fun. This is the completion of the first step. It really has an elegant look to it. Before I do the veining, I wanted to talk a little bit about the terms for marbling and marbleizing. Marbling would be more of a realistic marble that you would see in an actual stone of marble. Usually colors are more rustic, more earthy tone. When you're doing a marbleizing, you're actually creating an effect that you would like to create. Would be more like a fantasy, like more different various colors that you choose that would go with your decor, per se. So marbleizing, marbling, you could use the same terminology, but I think that this particular technique that we're doing here today would be marbleizing. Now I'm doing the green veining, and I want to have a medium-sized brush with a point. And I also want to have a really fine point to the other brush, like a smaller point. And we're going to dip our brush into the green. We want to dilute it a little bit with water, just slightly. And we're going to just follow a pattern. And some of these areas will be more blended than others. Some will be more watery than others. Some will be shorter than others. And I'm going to have them going every which way. Not too many though. Just like that. And it's important not to get too strong of the green because the paint is actually stronger. I'm diluting it to get that effect of the more natural look. And you could have one going across. Just like that. If you go to the corners and you want to, say you come to the end like this, you want to stop and then just slightly continue it like that. Not too long, just continue it. Act like the corners at this point are just part of the wall. And that's the first step. So here I am painting away my veins. So I'm on the burgundy veins now, which should be the third step. And after this, I'm going to do speckles of burgundy throughout. And then it'll be completed. So I'm as you can see, I did the green veining. Now I'm going to do the burgundy here and there. I don't want to overwhelm it, but I don't want to not put enough in. So I'm going to open this door here and act like this wall just continues. Some will be smaller than others. And again, I'm thinning out some of the paint so it drags a little easier. If I want to go back and make one darker, I can. And underneath here, never forget your little corners. And sometimes they crisscross the veins. Sometimes you'll see Y's, other times you'll see them going straight across. Some will be smaller than others, some will be larger than others, some will be darker than others. When I go to put the speckles in at the very end, that's going to add a lot more depth. And I'm going to be doing that with a sponge. Here we are with the corners again. They can get tricky, especially if they're small. Sometimes the paint dries really quick in the corners. I'm almost done with this side. And if you get too much on, you just take your little old rag. Rag does amazing things. Just swish it out of there. Just like that. And there you have it. Another section is done. So now we're in the last step here, and what I'm doing is I'm speckling on the burgundy. And I'm using my sponge, and I'm just lightly speckling it in areas and then taking the rag and blotting it. So this will add a little bit more depth and a little more color to our design. And this, like I said, this is just areas where you feel that you need it. Okay, so we've completed our final stage, the step 4. And as you can see, we now have a beautiful wallpaper effect. And also, not only is it a wallpaper effect, it's not wallpaper, so it'll never peel off. Thank you for watching my video on how to simulate a look of a wallpaper design. And I can be reached at Muralist Judy Peters at www.judypeters.com or on my cell at 610-442-7328. Thanks again. Happy Fauxing!